Hello everybody and welcome to Plaidstallions Toy Ventures. I am Brian, your host, and I am back. Happy New Year. It has been a little while since I did a Toy Ventures, and I thought what better excuse to do a new one than by visiting the first toy show of 2024 I could attend. And the show itself was Ontario Collector Con in Mississauga, Ontario. It was held last Sunday. And I had the unique experience after 21 years of driving my son to toy shows. My son drove me to this one, which was actually a very pleasant experience. I arrived at the show calm and rested. Now, this show is hit or miss for me. I have unique tastes, and this is a very 80s heavy toy show. However, my son has always made out like a bandit when it comes to his clone collection. And honestly, I just like going to toy shows. It's a bit of a zen garden to look at vintage toys all morning, even if you don't buy something. However, this show caught me by surprise, as it often does, and I ended up making a lot of purchases that I wasn't expecting to come home with. So I'll get into that after, but right now I'm going to give you a little slideshow of what we saw. I'll talk about a few things that caught my eye that I almost bought. Then I'll get into my purchases, which really I've started the year off pretty swell. Hang tight. Hey everyone, just a quick reminder, if you like this channel and what I do, please consider checking out my shop. I have 11 issues of Toy Ventures magazine available, as well as 2 books, multiple action figures, and a series of collector pins. I'll put the link to the shop in the description, and I thank you for considering it. So at this show, there was also a comic book show, and I stumbled in there as well because it's free, and why not? And the first thing I noticed in there were these amazing Marvel records that come with reprints of the original Marvel comics. These are not something that I would ever need to own, but as a fan of power records and that sort of genre, these are like the grails I hope to find in a flea market someday. The other item that tempted me is kind of what's wonderful about going to toy and comic shows is that you occasionally just find toys you're not even really looking for, but the opportunity exists to pick them up. And I was really sorely tempted by this Baron Ironblood from the Palitoy Action Force line. Thanks to my friend Tony at Analog Toys, who made some very well done and well researched videos on this line, I've grown very appreciative of it. I didn't have it as a kid, but I really love its style, its look. It's quite a gorgeous toy line. And Baron Ironblood is just such a cool example of when a toy company uses all the tooling they have to recycle a character, but they put a lot of imagination into it. I know this is an action man with a beard painted on, but that's the charm of this stuff. I just gotta give props to seeing a box GoDaikin robot at the show. It's not my thing, but they are really, really tempting. And also I want to talk about this Monster magazine cover because it kind of makes me laugh. It looks like Dracula might be blaming Frankenstein for the predicament they're in. Or maybe they're in a fight before the giant ant got them. I don't know. It's just awkward looking. Now, the clear winner of this show is my son, who managed to pick up some really cool gaps in his collection and some grails and some things he wanted for prices that were totally fair. And while I'm not a Clone Wars aficionado, I am a collector, and I can totally appreciate what he's saying, and that is what we really bond over. It's always fun to take him to this show because he does so well, usually. Even when I do these shows and he's away at school, I end up texting him half the time with the stuff I see. I was quite pleasantly surprised that I had pickups at this show. My first pass, I kind of thought, I think I've seen everything. But however, on my second pass, things got a little better. And this will be no surprise to anyone who watches this channel, are these McDonald's cups. I bought these mainly because of my childhood predilection with the Hamburglar. I think he scared me, I'm not sure, but he's so creepy. I love this iteration. I picked up the rest for my daughter, who's at university, and she loves this stuff as well. So now we're both in a secret Hamburglar club. I also picked up this Grimace puppet. I'm pretty sure I bought one of these last year, but I couldn't remember at the time, and I didn't want to be wrong, so I actually really want to bring this kind of puppet back. I've been trying to do that for Toy Ventures magazine for some time, but I'm having difficulty finding a supplier that understands what I'm talking about. So my next purchase surprises even me, and that is this Heroes of the American Revolution Ben Franklin figure. Now, this is what we would traditionally call a Mego knockoff, in that it's an 8-inch action figure, not produced by Mego, but meant to look like it is. This series was clearly done for the Bicentennial, and it had a great number of historical figures from U.S. history, including George Washington, Patrick Henry, Nathan Hale, Paul Revere, Thomas Jefferson, Daniel Boone, Marcus de Laffy, John Paul Jones, and of course, Ben Franklin. Over the years, my favorite joke has just been like, I want a picture of a kid's face opening these. Like, oh, you shouldn't have, Mom and Dad. These are not an expensive line to collect, because I think mainly because this didn't really attract kids so much as celebrity doll collectors. That was a big thing in the 70s, and historical figures definitely factored into that. So you do find these mint in box quite a lot, usually for $20 to $25. I paid a little bit more, but not when you consider shipping and US exchange. I probably made out pretty well, actually. I bought this mainly for the coat. That is one pimpy coat. and possibly to use some of the clothes on other items, maybe even Lincoln Monsters in the future. These are just kind of a fun little footnote, and honestly, I'm Canadian, so maybe I don't get the je ne sais quoi about American historical figures, but to me, these are just oddities, but they're weird and wonderful oddities. By the way, this is not the only bicentennial American history toy line. Even in Mego scale, I think there's at least 3 more. There were a lot of people looking to cash in on patriotism in 1976. My big purchase for the show, and one that just kind of took me by surprise, was this. Kenner's Bionic Bigfoot. Now, I used to have one in the box, but I traded it for something I'll never see again, and I don't regret that trade at all. I knew I would see a Bigfoot again, and I would reunite. And to be honest with you, I've looked at this loose Bigfoot at least 4 different shows over the last 2 years. You know, pondered it, but there was always something shinier and more interesting at the show that took my money. And this one, it was just time. The seller is a shop by the name of the Gargoyle in Toronto. I've been there a couple times. And he also had a boxed Canadian Bigfoot, so like one with English and French. And that really tasked me because that's pure childhood for me. I got that version of Bigfoot for Christmas. However, I just couldn't swing it financially, and I went for the more affordable loose option because I think I just want to enjoy the toy itself. And when I got it home, I was really surprised at its condition. It's in way better shape than I thought it was on the show floor itself. It actually is very tightly jointed, which is rare. And this puts kind of a bow on my $6 Million Man collection. I have every toy I had as a kid, and I honestly can't think of a $6 Million Man toy from Kenner that I'll need to buy. If there's knockoffs or foreign variations, that might turn my head, but when I traded my box Bigfoot away, I always said to myself, I'll just buy a loose one sometime. And, well, yesterday was sometime. Thank you, as always, for watching, folks. I think there's only one way you can end an episode featuring Bigfoot and Ben Franklin, and that's an Akumite to the death.